Hello, friends. So, in the weekly review 2 weeks ago, we talked about I haven't been putting enough emphasis on strategic decision and decision making. So, since then, I've been reading some books and became more and more interested in the psychology of how and why we act the way we do. And I think this is a really interesting area. So I've read the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, and he's also written a post about noise, how to overcome high hidden cost of inconsistent decision making. And this is what I would like to kind of summarize and talk about today. What Daniel meant by noise in the decision making is that, for example, in the picture here, a noisy decision outcome would be one that is inconsistent and it's got high variance. So to give a bit of background, Daniel observed that employees, even within the same role, in theory, when they make decisions, for example, whether to underwrite a loan, credit rating, etc., in theory, the outcome should be the same. But inconsistency in decision making means that outcomes often vary, and the degree of variation is larger than we thought. So unless there's a very strict rules on the decision-making process, when people involved subjective judgment, we often lead to inconsistent in decision-making. And this can further down lead to cost. For example, let's say if a project is estimated to cost 100K, and some people could estimate to be 80K, some people could be estimating 120K. So this is just a very simple, apparent financial kind of example. So Daniel did an experiment, what he so calls the noise audit. And the expectation is that within professional, there will be about 5 to 10% difference when it comes to decision making. But in reality, the average comes out to be about 50%. And an additional observation I found really interesting is that experience doesn't necessarily reduce noise, so it doesn't necessarily reduce the inconsistency in decision making. But with more experience, people tend to be more confident in their judgment. And one of the key takeaways is that to increase accuracy, we can do so by having feedback. An example he gave was that in a game of chess, people are able to increase or improve their decision making is because the feedback is immediate and clear. So in a game of chess, there will be two outcomes, either you win or you lose. So to summarize this section is that when there's a judgment, there will be noise. And we can do noise assessment by doing a noise audit. So what is the implications and how can we apply to our lives? As mentioned in the first section, that we have very strict rules and it limits our subjective judgment. This is when decision can be made consistently. So similarly, by using algorithms to make judgments and it eliminates the subjectivity of the human involved. Inside that algorithms are just a list of rules, and ultimately we still need human involved to make the final decision. And how can we apply this to our daily lives? So the process we're going through this 12-week year is essentially a system or a set of rules where we follow in order to dial down the noise in decision making. Such that there is less of, oh, I feel like doing this or I feel like doing that, and more so focusing on the structural plan on execution. In terms of the other key points, we've got the feedback. As we've already been doing, having the daily review, and also perhaps a bit more useful is having peer feedback as well. So one of the talks I've came across recently is the Ray Dalio's Dot Collector, and it encourages transparency and feedback from peers to prompt us to think like, why do we think the way we thought, which subsequently improves our decision making.